or chi square, whatever it is not a very big one. Right? I mean, it is a very short or very simple kind of a thing when compared to the others. It's not that others are big, but I mean, it's shorter than them is what it is. So anyway, what type of problems that this really solves, right? So this is again very much similar to the way that we talked about the significance test, right? So here also what you are actually going to do is, see, it is actually an in-between significance test and the correlation that we went through during the Pearson. Okay, so what I meant by in-between is here. What I'll take the example problem statement and then explain. See, for example, if you are trying to actually check what is the impact of gender on holiday preference. Okay, so whether holiday preference is really affected because of the gender. I mean, does gender play a part in the way that the holiday preference is taken or not? That's exactly what we are trying to find out. So here, the entire, I mean, the way that this particular thing would be done is, you would find the variance in terms of, you have two groups, that is right. I mean, the men and women, and kind of choices that they made. So men made, like for example in this particular case, 209 men made beach as the choice and 280 made cruise as the choice. Similarly, women had different numbers. So here you are actually, trying to find out the p-value. You are trying to find out a kind of how varied these particular groups are or data is, right? And then you would actually go and make a conclusion similar to a significant test, where you are saying that whether there is a significant difference between these two groups or not. Here also, like correlation, you are not talking about how much of impact that one and the other is going to have. Here rather you are just concluding that whether there is an impact of gender on holiday choice or not. So you are going to tell whether there is a significant difference or there is no significant difference. So the procedure in which you would actually find out is very similar to a significant test. So you can say that this is a type of a significant test where you are actually trying to check whether gender makes the difference or not. That's exactly what you are actually find out, right? So obviously in this problem statement, your null hypothesis is there is no difference that gender would bring on the holiday choice. And alternate hypothesis is gender does actually make a difference in terms of what the holiday choice is, right? So and how you go about, calculating the p-value. So remember, we talked about p-value. I'll recap again on the p-value. So p-value is nothing but the probability. So when you are actually comparing two samples, right? So now you have sample of male population, you have sample of female population, right? So in that way you can actually say, two samples here, right? You are actually also checking this particular sample, whatever one of the sample that you took. In general, what p-value is, how far away, or rather what is the probability of it being in the extreme end of the normal distribution, if you remember, right? So there is a normal distribution. You actually go and say that, okay, yes, this belongs to the extreme end of the normal distribution. So that is where it is not a, rather what you would say is, yes, it is very distinct from whatever the normal expectation that you have, and it is a lot more different than your expectation is what you say, right? I mean, it is a probability in which it actually, uh, uh, how probable, I mean, what is the kind of population that it would actually, cover. If I just take it through the visual representation of it, right? Is it, so you have a variable, how independent is that variable is what you are actually finding out. So you have like two groups, as I said, right? And let's say if you have a p-value of 1.32 or whatever it is, right? So what you are actually saying here is, there is 13% of probability that this is actually, falling as the normal population. So there is a normal population, there is an expected population. You are saying there is a 13% chance that this is actually falling as the normal population. That means it is not significantly different, right? It is covering 13% of the population. So you are saying that this is not so rare. The choice that is made by the other group is not so rare when compared to this group. So that is exactly what you are trying to say. So um, so there is a procedure in which the p-value is calculated and all those stuff. We'll go through that particular procedure, but the point that is to be taken in this is the nature of the problem that you are solving. And the nature of the problem that you are solving is you are trying to actually compare based on one independent variable. The independent variable is what? The independent variable is holiday choice. There is only one independent variable and you have two groups. So in case of ANOVA, if you remember, we have like factor, and the factor has got multiple levels. In this case, you have only one independent factor and it is just a choice as such. So they can actually either have a beach, they can have a cruise. So it is like, so one independent, and you have just two groups. It is not multiple groups that you are actually talking about here. So you have a two groups, you are actually, comparing based on one independent variable, which could vary. So the choice of that independent variable could vary. Okay. So that is the nature of problem statement that you are going to do. And the conclusion that you are going to come up with is whether gender is going to impact holiday choice or not. That's all. You are not really telling anything in terms of how it is going to impact. You are just telling that yes, gender plays a role to actually, select the holiday choice. That's exactly what you're actually saying. So now, so obviously, fundamentals of P remain same. So P is the probability in which it falls. So if it is P value is very, very less, that means it is significant difference that you are actually seeing. It is falling in the extreme right or left, whatever it is, right? I mean, it is covering a very, very small population. So hence you can say that there is a variance because of gender. Hence you are going to conclude that yes, your null hypothesis is wrong. So the lesser the p-value is, you are going to actually reject the null hypothesis. Okay. So we'll anyway go through the steps and then probably talk about various things while we actually, do it. So take the, I mean, see if you see that, right? Here, what kind of data that we have, again to say that you have a categorical data. So you have categories, right? I mean, you have a gender, which is either men or a woman, right? Similarly, there could be other categorical data as well. So, and then you have numbers against that categorical data, right? I mean, based on the holiday choices. The holiday choice is also categorical data for that matter. So you have a categorical data and you collected number of people who falls into that category, right? That's how the problem statement is. Typically for chi-square or chi-square, whatever it is, you will have a categorical data, and the problem statement would be collecting, choices made by these groups across categories. And the hypothesis is all about whether there is a role that it plays or not. Okay. So any doubt till now?
When you say that P is 0.13, it's like 13%. That's how you translate. 0.13 is 13%.
Correct, correct. So typically, when you don't mention any standard value of P, you consider P has to be 0.05, as we discussed earlier as well, right? I mean, you want at least 95% of the time it is falling under that particular extreme category. So basically, it's only 5% of the people which is covering under this extreme category is what you're actually counting on. So typically it is 0.05 p is what is mentioned as standard. But depending upon the problem statement, people can say that if you require more level of confidence, then this p could actually come down to 0.01 or whatever it is. It depends on the problem statement. So some might actually say that 0.10, some might say 0.01. So if they want more accuracy, they reduce p even further.
So actually, the difference of chi-square from the previous test that we looked is here hypothesis is telling they are different. Whereas in Mann-Whitney and ANOVA, we said both the groups are.
No. The fundamental there remains same. Here also hypothesis, null hypothesis is saying that there is no difference.
Okay.
Right? So if you find difference, that means p-value will be less. P-value less means you found a difference, hence you reject the null hypothesis. There also the fundamental remains same. So it is actually comparable, directly comparable with the other problems.
Okay.
So
Okay.
always in all the statistical problem, null hypothesis means accepted truth. Okay, so that fundamental remains same with respect to whatever problem that we actually speak about. And what you want to prove is alternate hypothesis.
So how is it different from, say, Mann-Whitney U-test or independence t-test? Because they also have two groups and one variable.
So here, so it is not about two groups here. So here you have more than one group for that matter. If I just go to older one, right? So this is what is ANOVA. So what we have is you have three groups here, not two groups. Okay. So here,
Okay.
not everything is categorical data. Here, actually, you have numerical data. This is average of whatever this concept scale or whatever that they already have, right? I mean, even if you take this particular example, you are calculating the response time, right? So here, yes, probably you can say that these are groups, which is groups are always categorical in nature. Right, when you group the persons, you are actually, it is not the number, right? I mean, it is obviously categorical, but when you actually see these things, it is not categorical data. You have response time, which is not really categorical data, it is a mathematical data. And what you have is not two groups, you have three groups here. Okay, so here what you are also see, even actually, chi-square or chi-square can actually deal with multiple groups. There is a way to actually deal with it. So it is not really the number of groups that is mainly thing. There it is categorical data, and you are collecting numbers in terms of which is falling under what category. So that is the main difference there. And here, one more thing that you are actually checking is you are checking here based on the variance between the groups. So whether there is a variance or not, you are saying that whether group 1 is different from group 2 or not. Yes, there also you are saying whether man has got a different choice or not. Okay, but there you are not checking. I mean, you are not directly checking by a variance, but in a way P is, indirectly telling the variance itself. But what I feel is the main difference there is being a categorical data. Here it being a variance across various groups. That is the main difference that I could see.
What about independent t-test?
Independent?
Independent t-test, that also doesn't measure variance, right? That's also measuring similarly.
Yeah, I mean, see, there are a lot of tests. Okay. Here the main thing is, see, there are a lot of significant tests that we do. Matt, you Whitney, whatever that we actually tested is also based on test of significance. But there also the type of data is where the difference all will come into picture. The type of data is what chi-square is covering is the type of data being the categorical data. That is the only difference. The rest you could see that both are falling under the same, if you see the, man, you Whitney, whatever, right? So here also, here also you have like numbers. So it is not categorical data. And here you had to actually rank. If you remember, we actually took it based on the ranks. We ordered it and then compared it, right?
Yeah.
So it is actually a rank-based comparison in a way. So here also it is not the categorical, but we have really the scores which are across two groups. And here again, we are actually finding the significance. And you are actually determining the same test whether there is a difference between public bank and private bank. There also you are actually checking whether there is a difference of choice, difference between male and female population. But what you have to be very keenly observing is the type of data that you are actually taking. Ultimately, it is same test of significance.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so all these types, right? I mean, even in case of correlation, you have n number of types, right? Pearson, Spearman, and etc. etc. There are n number of things. Bipoint, serial, etc.
Mm.
All would actually go and find out correlation only.
Yeah.
But what minute details that you would have to probably see the type of data that they are actually being, fed into.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So here the main thing is it being a categorical data is the main thing. Okay. So now coming to the part of, and yeah, obviously the hypothesis is whether the gender, preference is independent, right? I mean, basically there is no difference of gender as far as holiday is concerned. Both are independent is what you are trying to determine. Here you are saying that both are dependent, so they are not independent. So that's exactly what you are actually trying to prove as alternate hypothesis. Okay, so the way it is done, okay, so first thing is you would actually keep it in obviously table format. You add row, you add these two. So basically this is nothing but 207 plus 208, right? 282, sorry. Okay, and this is again the row 231 plus 242. Okay, and this is adding the column. So basically what you are actually doing, you are adding column, you are adding row. That's exactly what you are actually doing here. Okay, and then once you do it, what you are actually doing in this particular case is, see, in case of T-square, what you actually do, how you check the P or variance in a way is, you are going to calculate what is the expected value in these categories. So basically, this is the way that they calculate the expected value. So if I am trying to actually check what is the, see, this is what is given value, which is 207. So this is actual value, right? And now I'm going to check expected value and take the ratio between actual and expected. That's exactly what I'm going to do ultimately as far as this chi-square is concerned, right? So here, this is the formula using which you are going to find out the expected value. So what is the formula? See, let's say if I am finding the expected value for beach for men. So what I am going to do is I calculated the sum here, sum of this row, sum of this column, and sum of this row. So I am going to multiply sum of this row with sum of this column and divided by the total. That means the cumulative total of my entire population. Right, total population that I have where I took sample is 962 people. So I'm going to actually divide it by 962. So similarly, if I'm taking cruise, what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to take this 524, which is for this column, and then 489 for this particular row, multiply it, divided by 962, which is total population. Same thing that I would actually do here as well. Same thing that I would actually do here as well. And the result that you get is called as the expected value in these columns, in these particular cells, basically. Okay. So the calculation is pretty simple. You are actually doing a cross calculation. And then that cross calculation is what they say it as expected value in this particular case. Okay. So basically what they are doing is they are just normalizing across all the categories and then keeping it here. So that means they are mixing the column data and row data and then formulate and taking the average of it. So hence it's basically it is normalizing. So this is in case if there is no variance, right? This would be the expected value is what you could actually say. Okay. So expected value is in line with your null hypothesis. So if there is an expected value, if your values are closer to expected value, that means there is no variance. So that's how you could probably relate to. So that is where it is called as an expected value, right? So now what it is going to actually do, so it is going to calculate the variance, exact variance. So here what you calculated is the expected value. You can assume it as a mean. So now remember our variance formula. What we do, we take the point value minus it from the mean and then do the square and divide it across by the total population, right? So that's exactly what it is doing. So it actually found out the actual variance is what you can actually say. So this is the formula. Original value minus expected value, and then you are squaring it up and dividing it by the expected value. This is in line with our, this is very similar to the way that, the way variance is calculated. So kind of you are calculating the variance across all the categories here. Okay.
Yes.
So now what you are going to do, you calculated variance of all the categories, you just sum it up and say that this is the total chi-square or whatever it is that is up for the particular sum. So this is how chi-square is calculated. So if I say it is not as many steps as ANOVA. So what you are actually doing, you are calculating the expected value. You are just summing it up first. You are just making sure that you sum your rows and columns and total value. And then you are calculating the expected value. How you are calculating the expected value? You are mixing up both rows and columns and dividing by the population. And then you are actually going and finding the variance and you are adding the variance. Okay, so it's only 4 steps. First is pretty easy step of just adding. The second is just mixing up across columns and rows. And mixing up and then finding the expected value. And the second thing is about variance that you are actually finding out. And the fourth thing is about just adding it up and saying that this is what is the chi-square. Okay, so using this chi-square, you actually go and find out what exactly is the P. Okay, so this is little tricky in terms of how you actually look at the table. So there are 2 ways of doing this particular, using this chi-square, you cannot actually determine what is the, you can't make the conclusion. Ultimately, our aim is to make the conclusion whether male and female as a gender makes a difference in holiday choice or not, right? So using this particular value, you can't really conclude it. Hence, what you do, you convert that this value into the P value. So for that, similar to what we did in ANOVA and various places, there is a table. In that, you would actually look at the P value and then make the conclusion out of it. So how you actually look at it? So there is a slight variation on probably, the way that you would actually look at is here again, you will find out the degree of freedom. Degree of freedom is nothing but rows -1 into columns -1. Right? And then here in our example, we have just 2 into 2. So our degree of freedom is only 1. Right? So pretty easy way of calculating the degree of freedom. So you take this degree of freedom and look at the chart. So for 1 in this particular row, you can see where exactly this 4.102 is fitting. Right? So basically what is happening is if I see that 4.102 is fitting between these 2 entries, either it is more than 3.841 and it is less than 5.024. Right? So this F, whatever value that I have 4 point something is in between these two entities. So I don't have the exact p-value, but I know my p-value would be between this 0.05 and 0.025. So according to p-table, p-value is in between 0.05 and 0.025, because my chi-square or chi-square is falling exactly here. So that is where I'm saying my p-value would fall in between.
Okay,
Okay,
this is one way.
this is one way.
Okay.
Other way is there is actually calculators which come, so we don't really have that particular equation in which how chi-square could be converted into p-value. So calculators could actually give the exact value of p as well. Okay, but in our exam we are not expected to actually calculate p-value, because calculation of p-value from whatever the value that we have in chi-square is quite complex. So that is not what we have as a formula. So either we can determine the p-value saying the p-value is in between and we can make conclusion, or else there are external calculators which come, which can give, if you input chi-square value, it would actually tell the exact p-value of the solution. Okay, so you can actually come up with the exact p-value as well using chi-square, but to get the hypothesis right, you don't really have to calculate exact p-value. So even if you have this data saying that my p falls in between 0.5 and 0.25, I can definitely say my p is less than 0.05. I can definitely say that. Am I right? So if my p is less than 0.05, which is my level of significance, then I can say that I can reject the null hypothesis because there is a significant result here.
Okay, so can't we just look at the 0.05? If you could go back to the previous slide, please, Praveen. That, yeah, so 0.05 is 3.841. So can we say my score is
4 point something.
Just look at that. That wouldn't be right, is it? Can
No.
I just look at 0.05 value?
So no. What you are saying is your score is 4.102, which
And
is
here it is 3 point.
3.8. So hence, and it is less than this. So that means it is in between, is what you are saying. You know that your value is in between 0.05 and 0.025. That you can definitely say. And that is enough for you to make the conclusion. You can say that, okay, yes, my p-value is in between these two. That means I can definitely say that my result is significant and I can reject the null hypothesis. Okay. Yeah, the I mean, set of fundamentals as far as this chi-square remains pretty much similar to what we have discussed earlier. I mean, we talked about p-value. P-value is nothing but the probability where it falls into the normal distribution. If it is in the end of the distribution, we are saying that it is significantly different than what I expected. What my expectation is gender would not play any role in holiday decision, but it is far away from my expectation. That means I can say gender is playing a role. Okay. So that's how you could actually view this particular p-value ultimately. And what this procedure is all about, this procedure is applicable to categorical data. You are finding the expected value for this categorical data, and you are again trying to find out variance, and then you are coming up with a, I mean, you should not call it as a variance, but it's a kind of probably similar to variance is how I could say that it is actually a chi-square value. So it's not variance, but so to visualize, I'm saying you can actually compare it with variance, the way that it is calculated, right? The way that it is calculated and the significance it carries, it actually represents kind of a variance. Okay, so so that's about the chi-square. So points for you to note here is, right, the type of the data that it deals with. It deals with the categorical data, and it actually deals with the comparison between the groups, and you are talking about whether the independent variable would make a difference or not. The independent variable in this case is beach or cruise, whatever the holiday decision that they are taking. Whether it actually makes the difference or not is what you are actually checking. Based on that, you are actually dividing, you are actually trying to work through the problem and finding out whether it makes the difference or not. That's all.
Praveen, here rounding off, we took 4 digits, right? So is it mandatory to take so many digits after that?
Not really, not really. So you are
Because every time for last, I mean the previous one which had the Pearson coefficient, it has square root, right? So another 1 point also it makes difference in the other 4 digits when you make the covariance.
typically I generally stop with 3. Beyond 3 doesn't make any point. Okay. And these digits would add lot of value when, especially if your significance level and your determination is very, very close. That means if that if the 0.05 is coming as like 0.0495 kind of a thing, then your calculations might really take the decision either way or this way. But I mean, there is no thumb rule in terms of how many digits that you should actually take. But I typically round it by for 3. 3 places is what I generally take. Beyond that, it doesn't make sense, is what I feel. But yeah, it depends. It's your actually patience, which probably might be the thumb rule.
See, the Beachman has 1.099, right? So generally it would be if you take 1.10.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So if 1.136 will not make much of rounding, but 99 on the 3 digits, if we round it once, that data will affect all through the entire next steps, right? That's why. Yeah.
Keep it at 3 places is what I recommend. So you don't have to be overly worried about beyond 3 places. Even if there is a difference, you should probably round it up for 3.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So that's about T-square. In case if we are actually done with T-square, we can probably do a quick summary of what we have learned previously as well, so that we can really synthesize what we went through, right? Right. So
Yeah.
So very quick.
Praveen, sorry, I was just thinking about that you took it as points between 0.05 and 0.5 and 0.25. So if I look at only the 0.5, then I will say my value is less. And if I look at 0.25, my value is more.
You can't really take only one, because your value of f is more than this 3.849, right? So definitely it is not 0.05.
Yeah.
So it is more than 3.841, which is a reference value. So that means it has to fall in between only. You can't really take this at all.
Okay, because it is not the exact value, I should not take it. If it's the exact value, okay, whenever value is not there reflecting in the table, I should look at the next. Okay, got it. Yeah. Yes, now I got it. Yeah.
Correct. So that is where you are saying that your P is in between these two. That is what you are observing there. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So very fast and quick recap of what we have done. I think we learned what is population, what is sample, mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance. So I think concepts now would pretty much everybody is would be aware of, synthesized into the brain, I guess. We also understood the types of data. So now looking at all 3 problems or 4 problems which are appearing very similar, now you should be able to very much appreciate why these data types are very significant learning. You should be very keen in terms of observing the type of data, because based on the type of data, problem solving would actually change. Okay. So that is where we learned what is quantitative data, what is qualitative data, and we also learned what is nominal data, ordinal data, interval data, ratio data, right? So we have learned through the examples like nominal doesn't have any order, it does have just names. Ordinal, you can actually keep it in order, but you cannot really, it's still a categorical data. So, and interval doesn't have an absolute zero. It can be negative and positive. It is a numerical data. It does have direction. You can take the difference. Ratio does have absolute zero. So it is only in one direction, which is, so there is no negative values, except that everything else is same for the interval data. Right. And we learned what is normal distribution, and this is what is the standard deviation and all. So now I think hypothesis is also something that would have been imbibed into us. We know what is alternate hypothesis, what is null hypothesis, and all those stuff, right? So what we are interested in proving is alternate, and what is known is null, right? So we took, example and all. Correlation. So we went through correlation. Correlation is about comparing two values, comparing two variables. And in the comparison, we also learned how to interpret this correlation. If it is a positive, if it is near to 1, that means they are highly correlated. If they are like equal to 0, near to 0, then they are not correlated. So there is a negative correlation, positive correlation. If you have inversely proportional, directly proportional kind of a fundamental, right? That is what correlation is all about. So and then we went to variance. So we know what variance is. We also went through what is covariance, and that is exactly what Pearson correlation was actually trying to deal with. Pearson correlation is dealing with full quantitative data. So so basically it has got a lot of numbers as such. So there is a procedure in which you are actually finding the variance between various data items, between group 1 and group 2, etc. And then you are finding covariance, variance, and using covariance, you are actually finding out Pearson correlation, right? So this is what we have actually, found out about Pearson correlation. So this is correlation coefficient between these two variables, whatever that we have seen. And then what we have learned, we learned about test of significance. So how exactly we can check the effectiveness of our sample, and also how we can check the hypothesis. Both can be done using test of significance, whether you have a significant finding or not, whether your sample is correct or not. In both ways, this particular test of significance can be utilized. So again, here we learned two things. One is Z. Z is the distance between the sample mean and population mean. And we also learned P, which is exactly what we have learned today as well, which is the probability of being here, right? So the lesser the P value, the far it is from the weight curve. So far from your expected place, basically, right? So we went through Mann-Whitney-U test. So where we are actually talking about whether this is again a significant test. So similar to today's test of chi-square, we found out that how to compare two data. So two groups of data where you are saying whether both groups are different or not. You have data for both groups. You are just checking whether both groups are different or not, right? And then using rank based, we calculated U, and using U we could actually determine, either we can determine Z, or else using U itself you can actually say whether you can reject the null hypothesis or accept the null hypothesis, kind of a thing, right? So then we talked about ANOVA. Okay, so in ANOVA we discussed about how exactly one variable, one independent factor having different levels, right? So that is what is the one-way ANOVA. If you have more than one independent variables, then it is two-way ANOVA. So anyway, we did not go through two-way ANOVA. We went through one-way ANOVA. I mean, it doesn't matter. So both the concepts are same. It depends on number of independent variables, and each independent variable would have different levels. That's what it is about. So using ANOVA, we calculated F ratio. So we removed all the by chance and all those stuff within groups, among groups. So if you remember, we found out within groups and among groups, variance, and then we found out the ratio, right? Within groups and among groups divided by within groups ratio, and then based on that we found out whatever the F ratio is, and using F ratio we are determining whether we are actually having significant variance or not. Okay, so that's how we are actually rejecting or accepting it. And today we went through chi-square. So this is exactly what we went through in 4 days as a quick summary. So I mean, let me know in case if there is any confusion. So in any of these.
Praveen, can you share when do we use these tests? I know there are some parametric and some non-parametric, right?
Yeah. So Pearson correlation is parametric test. You have quantitative data and you are finding out the correlation between two variables.
So are you saying
how much are they related? You are even telling how much both variables are related. In case of correlation, you are not only telling whether they are related or not. Here what I am finding out whether gender has a link with holiday choice or not. Whether there is a link or not is what I am telling here. There, if I am using correlation methods, I can tell how much they are linked. If I change this, how much my choice of holiday would change. So I can tell the the strength of my correlation there. So how much both are related is what I can tell in case of correlation. Here we are only telling whether they are related or not. You are not telling the strength.
Okay.
Okay.
For all non-parametric tests, we just tell whether they are related.
No. There are non-parametric tests where you do correlation as well. For example, Spearman is a non-parametric test. There you would tell the strength as well. So you would actually find out the correlation and tell strength as well. The difference of telling the strength or non-telling the strength is how significance test work and how correlation works. In case of correlation tells you the strength. In case of significance test, you are only going to tell whether you can reject null hypothesis or accept null hypothesis. Okay. So it is not because of parametric and non-parametric. Parametric and non-parametric is coming with the type of data.
Okay. I have another question. So let's say we are doing a real research. Okay. We got some data and we have something with us. So are we using these tests to test our data? And then the data means data could be in the form of questionnaire or data could be in the form of something. How do we do that? Like, where is the actual use of this statistic in the real research?
So no, where is the use in the sense? Obviously, you are actually making some conclusions out of it.
Yes.
So every problem statement for you, in order to make the conclusion, you are using various algorithms to actually come up with. So now, depending upon the nature of problem, you are selecting the type of test that you would really require to use. So that is where you are actually choosing among all these things. So there, let's say there are 10 varieties of ways in statistics to find out various things.
Okay.
Right? So for example, so in these 10, right, if you actually try to group it, one type of grouping is parametric and non-parametric. So how parametric and non-parametric is coming into picture? It is coming into picture depends on the type of data that you have.
Yeah.
Right? So you have quantitative data, then you are more into parametric tests, or else you have lot of data, you are more into parametric tests. So if you have lesser data or you have non-quantitative data, you are into non-parametric tests.
Mm-hmm.
So you would see, for example, if I am choosing the correlation, if I have a rank based data, then I would go and check the Spearman. I would not use Pearson's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the same. So now that is one type of parametric and non-parametric categorical data, quantitative data would actually determine you what type of test that you need to do.
Okay.
One decision point. The second decision point is, what do you want to prove? Are you going to tell that you are trying to actually tell how strongly these two are related? For example, are you saying that temperature of the day dictates the ice cream sales, right? So now you tell, correlate and say that, okay, first if I have no temperature and ice cream sales are very strongly correlated,
Mm-hmm.
or they are very weakly correlated. You want to tell strength as well when you are talking about the problem, let's say problem statement. You just don't want to tell that they are related. You are not really saying that. You are saying how strongly they are related, how weakly they are related, and you are also telling the direction, whether they are inversely related or directly related. They are related, whether they are inversely related, directly related, whether temperature increase would increase the ice cream sales or whether it would decrease the ice cream sales. Yes, they are related. Both are type of relations, right? So if you want to categorically tell the direction and also tell the tell the how strongly they are related, you choose algorithms which are related to correlation. Okay. Similarly, if you just want to actually, prove the null hypothesis or reject the null hypothesis kind of a thing, you would actually go and choose some of these significance tests. For example, Mann-U-Whitney chi-square falls onto these type of problems.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
ANOVA falls into a case where you are trying to find out the variance. So how varied these groups are is how you are actually telling. So when your problem statement is around saying that you have multiple groups and you want to tell that how varied these groups are, then ANOVA would actually come. So it is type of your problem statement which would actually tell which what you need to actually check, and your type of data is going to check which algorithm in that type that you would fit. So once you determine that I want to find out correlation, then you see your type of data and say, okay, which type of correlation algorithm that I need to use, whether it is Kendall's or Spearman or Pearson's or whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the key decision points. That's all.
Got it. Thank you.
So I think that's all for today's class. I think